In 2023, British households threw away food worth £17 billion. Not mouldy food, not rotten food. Food that smelled fine, looked fine, and would have tasted fine on your plate. The reason? A tiny printed date on the label that most people do not actually understand. Number 18 on this list is something supermarkets have known for decades but never told you. Number 7 was so misleading that the government ordered stores to stop using it. And number 3 means you have almost certainly binned hundreds of pounds worth of perfectly good food this year alone. These 25 secrets are how the system really works. Before we start, hit subscribe, because once you see this, you will never look at a date label the same way again. Let us count down the 25 date label secrets supermarkets use to make you throw away perfectly good food. Number 25. Best before does not mean bad after. This is the single biggest lie the label tells you without technically lying at all. A best before date is a quality marker, not a safety deadline. It means the manufacturer guarantees peak flavor and texture until that date. After it, the food is still perfectly safe to eat. It might be slightly less crunchy, marginally less vibrant in color, but it will not make you ill. Yet surveys consistently show that more than half of British shoppers treat best before as a hard cutoff. They open the cupboard, see a tin of baked beans one day past the date, and straight into the bin it goes. That tin would have been fine for months, possibly years. The manufacturer knows this, the supermarket knows this, but neither of them is in any rush to tell you, because when you throw away food, you buy more food. That is the engine that drives the entire system. A 2024 survey found that people over 55 were far more likely to keep food past its best before date, while under 25s said they lacked confidence in judging whether food was still good. A whole generation has lost the instinct their grandparents relied on every single day. Number 24. Use by is the only date that actually matters for safety. Unlike best before, a use-by date is a genuine safety deadline. It appears on perishable items like fresh meat, fish, and ready meals, products where invisible bacteria can multiply even if the food looks and smells perfectly normal. After midnight on that date, eating the food becomes a genuine risk. It is also illegal for shops to sell food past its use-by date. But here is the problem. Most people cannot tell the difference between the two labels. Research from WRAP found that confusion between use by and best before is one of the top drivers of household food waste in Britain. Two labels, two completely different meanings, and a nation of shoppers treating them as the same thing. That confusion is worth billions to the supermarkets. Every time someone bins a packet of biscuits because they muddled up the two dates, somebody in a boardroom somewhere benefits quietly. Number 23. Display until was never meant for you. Those display until and sell by stickers you see on packaging were never intended for shoppers. They are stock rotation tools for shop floor staff, telling them when to pull items from the shelves. They have no legal meaning for the customer, none whatsoever, yet people see them and panic. If the display until date was yesterday, they assume the food is done for. In 2011, the government published guidance telling retailers to stop using sell-by and display until on consumer-facing packaging because it was causing so much unnecessary waste. The guidance called it confusing. It called it misleading. Some supermarkets listened. Many carried on because the confusion, frankly, was profitable. Every time you bin a product because of a display until date, you are reacting to an instruction meant for a teenager stacking shelves at 6:30 in the morning, not for your kitchen. Number 22. Eggs have their own secret calendar. Eggs carry a best before date, not a use by date. That best before must be set no more than 28 days from the day the egg was laid. Retailers must also pull eggs from the shelf 7 days before the best before date arrives if no sell by date is printed on the box. But here is what most people miss entirely. An egg past its best before date is not automatically dangerous. The simple water test tells you everything you need to know. Place the egg in a glass of cold water. If it sinks and lies flat on the bottom, it is fresh. If it stands upright, It is older, but still perfectly fine for cooking, scrambling, or baking. If it floats to the surface, the air cell inside has expanded, and the egg should go. Your grandmother knew this trick. She never checked a date on an egg in her life. She held it up to the light, dropped it in water, and got on with making the cake. Number 21. Tinned food lasts years beyond the label. The best before date on a tin of tomatoes, soup, or beans is almost comically conservative. Tinned food is heated to temperatures that destroy bacteria, then sealed in an airtight container. As long as the tin is not dented, swollen, or rusty, the contents remain safe for years, sometimes decades. During the Second World War, tins packed in the 1930s were opened and consumed without incident. Soldiers ate them, families ate them, nobody died. Yet families across Britain bin tins the moment the best before date ticks over. That tin of sweet corn sitting dusty at the back of your cupboard with a date from last March is almost certainly fine. It just will not win a beauty contest. The Food Standards Agency has confirmed that tinned food remains safe indefinitely if the can is intact, though the quality may decline over very long periods. The date on that tin is a suggestion, not a death sentence. Number 20. Supermarkets set dates shorter than necessary. Here is where things start to get uncomfortable. The manufacturer, not an independent authority, decides what date goes on the label, and manufacturers often choose dates that are shorter than the product actually needs. Why would they do that? Because a shorter date means you finish the product faster, buy a replacement sooner, and the sales cycle accelerates. There is no legal minimum for how generous a date must be. If a biscuit could realistically last 8 months, but the manufacturer stamps 6 months on the packet, that is perfectly legal. Nobody checks. Nobody audits. The date is a commercial decision dressed up as a safety measure. The biscuit does not know what month it is. It does not care. But your shopping trolley does. Number 19. Bread gets binned more than almost anything else. WRAP data shows bread is the second most wasted food in British households, after potatoes. Millions of loaves go into the bin every year, often because the best before date has passed by a single day. But bread does not become unsafe after its best before date. It goes stale. It might grow mold eventually, but you can see mold. You do not need a laboratory to spot a green patch on a slice of Warburton's. If your loaf looks clean and smells normal, it is fine for toast, bread pudding, croutons, or breadcrumbs. Your nan would have wrapped it in a damp tea towel and revived it in a low oven. We wrap it in a bin bag and toss it in the wheelie bin. The difference between those two responses is about 40 pence and a generation of lost common sense. First pattern break. Here is where the story turns properly dark. Because the date label system does not just make you waste food at home. It makes supermarkets waste colossal amounts of food before it even reaches your kitchen. The retail sector in Britain throws away around 270,000 tons of food every single year. Much of that food is pulled from shelves while still perfectly within its use-by date, simply because stores want a buffer of a day or two for the customer to get it home and eat it in time. That buffer is a commercial choice, not a legal requirement. It means mountains of perfectly edible food go straight from the shelf to the skip, often while people in the same postcode cannot afford a proper meal. Britain's top 10 supermarkets donate less than 9% of their consumable food waste. Less than 9%. The rest goes in the bin. Meanwhile, around 7.5 million people in the UK live in households experiencing food poverty. The dates on the labels did not cause that, but they made it worse. Number 17. Yogurt lasts far longer than the label says. In 2023, Tesco switched more than 30 of its own brand yogurt lines from use-by dates to best before dates. The Co-op did the same with its own brand yogurts. The reason was brutally simple. Around 54,000 tons of yogurt are thrown away in UK households every single year, and nearly half of those pots are never even opened. Yogurt is a fermented product. The live cultures inside it are already doing the job of preservation. The acidity keeps harmful bacteria at bay. An unopened pot stored properly in the fridge can last well beyond its printed date. A little liquid pooling on top? That is just whey separating out. Stir it back in. The switch to best before was the industry quietly admitting that use-by dates on yogurt were causing people to waste a product that was still perfectly safe to eat. Number 16. The sniff test was good enough for centuries. Before date labels existed, which in Britain means before 1980, people relied on their senses. Smell it. Look at it. Taste a tiny bit if you are not sure. For thousands of years of human civilization, across every culture on Earth, this worked. Then along came standardized labeling, and within a single generation, we forgot how to trust our own noses. The Food Standards Agency still says that for products with a best before date, you can use sensory cues to decide if food is still good. Check for visible mold on bread. Sniff milk. Taste a crisp to see if it has gone stale. These are not reckless suggestions. They are official government advice. But for use by products, the sniff test is not reliable. That is the one critical distinction. Your nose cannot detect the bacteria that cause food poisoning in raw chicken or cooked prawns. Know the difference between those two labels, and your nose can handle the rest. Number 15. Milk was one of the biggest date label scandals in British history. Almost 490 million pints of milk are thrown away by British households every year. Milk was the third most wasted food and drink product in the country, after potatoes and bread, and it has the biggest carbon footprint of the three because production is so resource-intensive. 1 litre of milk can account for up to 4.5 kilograms of CO2. RAP estimated that 85 million pints of that wasted milk were thrown away, specifically because people stuck rigidly to the use-by label when the milk was still perfectly drinkable. In 2022, Morrisons became the first major UK supermarket to scrap use-by dates on 90% of its own brand milk, replacing them with best before dates and telling customers to use the sniff test. Sainsbury's followed, affecting over 730 million pints sold annually. The industry had finally admitted what your grandmother already knew. Fresh milk does not suddenly become poison at midnight on the printed date. Number 14. Hard cheese is nearly indestructible. Cheddar, Parmesan, Gruyere, and other hard cheeses have been aged for months or even years before they reach your fridge. They are low moisture, high salt, and naturally resistant to harmful bacteria. If you find a spot of mold on a block of mature cheddar, you can cut it off, removing about an inch around the affected area, and eat the rest with total confidence. The mold cannot penetrate deep into hard cheese the way it can with brie or camembert. Yet people throw away entire blocks because the best before date has passed. That Cathedral City cheddar is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is maturing further, getting sharper, getting better, and you are putting it in the bin because of a number printed on plastic. Number 13. Frozen food has no real expiry. Freezing is essentially a pause button. Bacteria cannot grow at -18 degrees Celsius. The Food Standards Agency confirms that food stored continuously at the correct freezer temperature remains safe to eat indefinitely, though texture and flavor may decline over very long periods. Those best before dates on frozen peas, fish fingers, and oven chips are quality suggestions, nothing more. Your freezer is the most powerful anti-waste tool in your kitchen, yet most of us treat it like a morgue for forgotten food, buried under frost and mystery bags from last September. Number 12. Supermarkets use date labels to justify markdowns rather than donations. Ever noticed those yellow stickers appearing in the evening marking down food approaching its use-by or best before date? That is the store recouping whatever money it can before pulling the item at close of business. The food is still safe. It is still within date. But the markdown trains you psychologically. You start to associate approaching dates with declining value, as if the food is somehow damaged or lesser. That conditioning keeps you reaching for the freshest item at the back of the shelf, even though the one at the front with 2 days left would have been absolutely fine for your Tuesday tea. Meanwhile, mountains of yellow stickered food that does not sell by closing time still ends up in the skip rather than at a food bank round the corner. Second pattern break. Controversy incoming. Here is the part supermarkets really do not want you thinking about. The entire date labeling system was introduced in Britain in 1980 when the food labeling regulations brought UK law in line with a European directive. Before that, some shops used coded dates that were completely meaningless to customers, letters and numbers that only the manager could decode. The system was designed to protect consumers, and in principle, it does. But the food industry quickly realized that cautious dates meant faster stock turnover. A shorter shelf life printed on a packet of digestives does not protect you from anything. Digestives do not become dangerous, they go slightly soft, but a nervous shopper who bins a packet 2 days past best before and replaces it with a fresh one, that protects the quarterly earnings report beautifully. Number 10. Rice, pasta, and dried goods last essentially forever. Dried pasta, white rice, dried lentils, couscous, and similar shelf-stable products carry best before dates measured in months. In reality, stored properly in a cool, dry cupboard away from moisture and pests, they last for years without any decline in safety. Dried pasta from 2023 sitting in your cupboard right now is almost certainly fine to cook tonight. White rice, if sealed and kept dry, can last for decades. These products have virtually no moisture, which means bacteria and mold have nothing to work with. The best before date on a bag of penne is one of the most meaningless dates in your entire kitchen. Yet people clear out their cupboards twice a year and bin perfectly good dried goods because the number on the packet makes them uneasy. Number 9. Fruit and vegetables never needed dates at all. Under UK food labelling regulations, fresh, uncut fruit and vegetables are actually exempt from carrying any date label. They do not need one. You can see with your own eyes whether an apple is fresh, a carrot is firm, or a potato has gone green and sprouted. Yet until recently, many supermarkets stamped best before dates on loose produce anyway. The waste became so embarrassing that major chains started stripping them off. Waitrose, Tesco, Marks and Spencer and Sainsbury's have all removed best before dates from hundreds of fresh produce lines. Sainsbury's alone stripped the dates from over 1,500 products including pineapples, pumpkins and apples. The produce did not change. Your ability to spot a wrinkly pepper did not change. All that changed was the removal of a label that was making you throw away perfectly edible food you had already paid for. Number 8. Honey literally never expires. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in Egyptian tombs that are over 3,000 years old and still perfectly edible. Honey's natural acidity, extremely low moisture content, and natural hydrogen peroxide production make it one of the most shelf-stable foods on Earth. Nothing can grow in it. Nothing can survive in it. Yet it sits in your kitchen cupboard with a best before date stamped on the label, and you wonder if it is still safe. It is. If it has crystallized, which is a completely natural process that says absolutely nothing about safety, stand the jar in warm water for 10 minutes. It will liquefy again. The best before date on honey is one of the most absurd labels in the entire supermarket. You are putting an expiry date on something that outlasted the pharaohs. Number 7. Sell-by dates were so confusing, the government tried to ban them. In 2011, the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs published updated guidance stating that food packaging should only carry either a use-by or a best before date. Sell-by and display until labels, DEFRA said, should be removed from consumer-facing packaging because they were causing mass confusion and contributing to the £12 billion worth of good food that ended up in the bin every year. The guidance called for simplicity. 2 dates, one for safety, one for quality, nothing else. The guidance was voluntary, not mandatory. Some retailers complied and cleaned up their labels. Others kept the old system running because the confusion, frankly, was generating foot traffic. Every bewildered shopper binning food a day early and popping back to the supermarket was another receipt in the till. Number 6. Condiments last far longer than you think. ketchup, mustard, soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, HP sauce, malt vinegar. These are high acid, high salt, or high sugar products that are naturally hostile to bacterial growth. An opened bottle of Heinz ketchup in the fridge will last for months beyond any printed date. Vinegar does not expire at all. It is an acid. It preserves itself. That is literally the reason humanity has used it for thousands of years. Yet people clear out their condiment shelf twice a year, binning half-full bottles of perfectly usable sauce because the date has passed. That bottle of brown sauce in your fridge door has been there since Christmas, and it is absolutely fine. Leave it alone. Third pattern break. Let us talk about the psychology for a moment, because this is where the real money lives. Supermarkets understand something about date labels that most shoppers never consider. The label does not just inform you, it creates anxiety. A date stamped on a product triggers loss aversion, the deeply human fear of wasting money on something that might go bad before you use it. So you buy less per visit, buy more often, and always instinctively reach for the longest date at the back of the shelf. That behavior pattern is enormously profitable. A shopper who visits 3 times a week spends significantly more than one who visits once, because impulse purchases happen at the door, at the end of aisles, and at the checkout. The date label is not just consumer information. It is a frequency driver for store visits. And the supermarkets have understood this mechanism for decades. Number 4. You can freeze almost anything before its use by date and reset the clock entirely. This is perhaps the most underused trick in the British kitchen, and the Food Standards Agency actively encourages it. If you buy fresh chicken with a use by date of Thursday and realize on Wednesday you will not cook it in time, freeze it. The clock stops completely. When you defrost it later, cook it within 24 hours until it is steaming hot. This applies to bread, milk, meat, fish, cooked meals, cheese, butter, and dozens of other products. The freezer extends your food's useful life by weeks or months. Yet millions of families let use by dates pass and throw the food away, never once thinking to pop it in the freezer on the day they bought it. Label it, date it, freeze it. Done. That is 3 pounds of chicken saved, not binned. Number 3. Date label confusion causes more waste than actual spoilage. This is the secret that ties the whole system together. RAP's research has consistently found that the single biggest reason British households throw away food is that it was not used in time. It either looked or smelled off, or it had passed the date on the label. But here is the crucial part that nobody in the industry talks about. A huge proportion of that waste involves food that was still perfectly safe to eat. People are not binning food because it has genuinely gone bad. They are binning it because a printed date told them to feel nervous. Date label confusion drives hundreds of thousands of tons of avoidable food waste every single year in the UK. Not spoilage, not contamination, confusion. And nobody in the food industry has any real financial incentive to clear that confusion up, because confused shoppers buy more frequently and waste more consistently. Number 2. Some foods are legally exempt from needing any date at all. Under UK regulations, certain categories of food do not require any date label whatsoever. Fresh uncut fruit and vegetables, wine and spirits above 10% alcohol, vinegar, cooking salt, solid sugar, chewing gum, and bakery products normally consumed within 24 hours of baking. These exemptions exist because these products are either so obviously perishable that you would know when they had gone off, or so naturally stable that a date would be meaningless. The fact that these exemptions exist at all proves something the industry would rather you did not think about too carefully. If dates are not necessary for wine, vinegar, sugar, honey, and fresh apples, then the dates stamped on thousands of other equally stable products are primarily about commercial convenience and stock management, not about keeping you safe. And number 1, the biggest secret of all. No independent body verifies these dates. The manufacturer decides, the manufacturer tests, the manufacturer prints. There is no government laboratory running shelf life trials on every product in your local Tesco. There is no inspector tasting your hobnobs at the 6-month mark to confirm the date is scientifically accurate. The manufacturer makes a commercial judgment, balancing genuine food safety against marketing strategy, stock turnover targets, and how quickly they want you back in the shop buying a replacement. For use by dates on high-risk perishable products, there are real safety calculations involved, and those dates should always be respected. But for best before dates on biscuits, crisps, tinned goods, dried pasta, condiments, and thousands of other shelf-stable products, the date is largely a business decision. And that business decision costs British households billions of pounds every single year in food that ends up rotting in landfill instead of feeding people at the dinner table.
Here is my challenge. Go to your kitchen right now. Pull out every tin, every packet, every jar you have been meaning to throw away because the date has passed. Check the label. Is it best before or use by? If it is best before, look at it, smell it, and use the common sense your grandmother had. Then come back here and tell me how much food you rescued. Share it in the comments. Because these were not just labels. They were a system that made you waste food you had already paid for. Your grandmother knew better. Now you know too.